Luke was also saying that in terms of Steve Bruce, he could be gone in so much as the next couple of days. Graham Jones might be taking charge of the next game in the Premier League, and they could have a new manager in what he's kind of said 10 days to 2 weeks potentially. So
Steve Bruce on 999 as well.
It's brutal, isn't it?
Ruthless, that.
Yeah. It's a brutal situation, but it's football, I suppose, at the end of the day, isn't it? And look, the cold facts remain that they are second from bottom in the Premier League. So this takeover looks fine and rosy, but there's some jobs to do at hand first before they can even look to dip into the market. They've got to get themselves out of trouble, and they've got to, if Steve Bruce isn't going to be the one to take them forward in the short term, they've got to appoint a new manager, and one really that's going to work. Because actually, with something like this, a new consortium and all the expectations in Newcastle, whoever goes in at Newcastle, that's not going to be an easy job straight off the bat, is it?
And also as well, you could think they might even look at it as, well, am I a stepping stone? That's another conversation, because you're hearing about some of the names that are being linked, the likes, I'm talking about top end, I'm talking Conte, people like that. Well, it's like, well, who gets Newcastle to that point? You can't just go straight away now Conte, because he doesn't want, look where Newcastle's currently sitting the table, second from bottom. But I mean, listen, I heard the Lampard shout. I'd probably more go someone like a Graham Potter or Brendan Rodgers. I'd put them two both above him. Again,
what is, apart from the money that you're going to maybe get to spend in January?
But that's it right there.
Is that the only draw?
Well, I think it's got to be. Obviously, we know it's a big football club, and where they sit currently in the table isn't great. And with the run of fixtures they've got coming up as well, which are horrendous, by the way, I can understand why he'd probably say that. But I think maybe potentially new voice in the dressing room. Maybe you might get a bit of a bounce from the players, because I know what it's like sometimes. It's been tough for Brucey ever since he got there. He wasn't well liked when he got there. I don't know if that's got something to do with maybe the Sunderland aspect of it, which obviously again doesn't help. But he was never really given a fair chance at it, and he obviously followed Rafa, and they absolutely loved Rafa as well. So I think maybe a fresh voice in the dressing room, fresh tactics, might just free it up a little bit. And when you talk about Graham Jones, I'm never really one. I don't really like when a manager goes into number two stays, because what changes?
Can I ask a question from players' perspective to both of you, really? How attractive is Newcastle at the moment? So the rumours are that they want the likes of perhaps a Jesse Lingard to come in, and then they maybe spend a little bit more money on a player. They might get a new defender in, Tarkowski from Burnley. If you are a player at the moment, and this is all managing, I mean, they've got potentially up to 190 million to spend in the next window. We know that in terms of financial fair play, because they haven't spent so much recently. So if you are a player, what makes Newcastle attractive at this moment in time? Not what they're going to be in the future, but right now.
What, so you're talking about a player coming into the dressing room in January, or at the end of the season?
Yeah. Is it attractive for a player?
Well, listen, when you're talking about a club that's been backed by 300 billion, of course that there in itself is attractive. I mean, of course, they currently sit second from bottom, and as I said, by the time with the run of fixtures they've got coming up until January, they could be buried in that bottom three. So you probably look at it and go, you are taking a chance.
It's a gamble.
It is a gamble, but of course, as I said, unfortunately, with the money in football and the finances, the kind of numbers that they can offer around to players that maybe wouldn't get that contract anywhere else, that is going to be attractive.
Ali, what do you think?
I think Benty's right. I think it's not going to be a flick of a switch, and the whole thing's going to turn Newcastle into PSG. It's going to take time, same as it did with Manchester City. However, I also think I know Benty's saying there about the players getting a little bit of a boost with a new manager coming in. I think they'll also get a boost with the new owners, Benty, because they'll think, I want to be part of this.
Yeah.
They want to, I want to give everything I've got to be part of this Newcastle machine that's going to roll forward. So I would expect to see, an improvement. But if you're looking for major signings right away, I'm with Luke Edwards, who we spoke to earlier on. I don't think that will happen. You might get one or two, but I think they will go down the lines of the first thing that they've got to do. They've got to make sure that they're playing top flight football next year.
Yeah,
that is absolute of paramount importance, because you ain't going to. I mean, stating the obvious, you ain't, no matter to a certain degree, you ain't going to attract the creme de la creme if you're in the Championship, no matter what you offer them, because they want to, play in the top flight and have an opportunity of joining a club that are going to fight for honours and fight for European football. So I think it's exciting times at Newcastle, but as I say, it's like anything else, Benty. I still think it will take time.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you, Ali. I think it will take time. And I think what they might have to do in January in terms of, I think they'll be able to get a calibre of player in terms of good Premier League players because, as I said, the finances. But I think they might have to go a little bit rogue as well in terms of some of the signings that they do make, a little bit mercenary in terms of, say, the likes of someone like a Philip Coutinho, for instance, that they would have no chance of getting usually. But because you look at Coutinho, he's played at the highest level, he's obviously unwanted at Barcelona, he's probably a little bit in limbo. They can kind of sell him the project. They're going to have to lure him in with the finances. That type of signing, like they're not going to go and get the likes of Haaland and Mbappe. That's not going to happen for the next few years. But someone like a Coutinho, bringing him in, you spoke about Jesse Lingard. I don't think them players are unattainable. I think they can get them type of players.
Let's look at their fixtures that we were speaking about, because this is the immediate danger that they find themselves in. Their next game at home is against Tottenham. Now, if Steve Bruce isn't in charge, do you think it's going to affect the way that St James's Park react in a positive way?
Potentially, and I mean that sounds awful to say, because you think, how can obviously someone losing their job give the whole of the city a lift? But I guess there'll be some bounce there. Listen, there'll be players in the dressing room that really like Steve Bruce. By the way, there'll be players that will be gutted to see him go. But of course, there are going to be others that maybe haven't played as much football, or just simply don't get on with him, that will be happy. So, of course, Graham Jones seems to be the one that they all like up there. He's supposed to be a really good coach. He was there with England in the summer. So, of course, you'd have to say that might give the players a little bit of a lift as well. But as I said, the quality on the pitches hasn't been good enough, which is why they sit where they do. I mean, you said there about they play Spurs. Have you seen their run in December? Obviously, it's tough now, but look at their run in December.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so for December, well, it starts off against Norwich. That might be one of the ones that they'll be targeting for 3 points. Then they've got to play Burnley, then Leicester, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United and Everton. Wow. And their immediate danger that I was mentioning there is Tottenham at home is the next game. Then they play a Crystal Palace team. Then they play Chelsea at home, then Brighton away, and then Brentford at home, and then Arsenal away. So look, it doesn't get any easier, really, does it?
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods, Monday to Wednesday morning 6 till 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.